And this man was Izzatullah Nigahban, who studied with Helen Cantor and Yunus Delegas in the Oriental Institute in the, let's say, late 50s and early 60s. He went back to Iran. He became the professor of archaeology. He actually reorganized or organized the Department of Archaeology in the University of Tehran. He founded the Institute of Archaeology of the University of Tehran, and he began to train a number of students and archaeologists, including my father, in those years. He is very famous for his excavations at this site in northern Iran, Marlik. He excavated an important Elamite site in southwestern Iran. He was a man of great esteem, and he was actually very brave. He was attacked many times by students and some angry mobs during the revolution. He was harassed by the security forces of the previous regime, the Sabak, and he was finally stabbed in the university, but he survived as a sort of great man, great figure for Iranian archaeologists at least, but very respected for his colleagues as well. Here you see him at Haftepe, southwestern Iran, with a number of his colleagues, mostly American. To start with is David Stronach, my former advisor, and the first director of the British Institute, with Robert Dyson, his longtime friend, Kyle Young. I don't know this guy, but this man is a French excavator of Turin-Tepe, Jean Dehaye, William Sumner, Lambert Karlowski, and Henry Wright is here. Two of his brilliant students later, took appointments and positions in the University of Tehran, and they in turn formed a lot of Iranian students. Shapur Malik, who studied with Nigahban first and got a scholarship from the University of Pennsylvania and obtained his doctorate with Robert Dyson. And Yusuf Majid-Zadeh, he went to Chicago and studied with Helen Cantor. He excavated this famous site of Jiroft in the, I think, up to a recent time. Nigahban invited a number of American archaeologists, including this famous Robert Braidwood from the Oriental Institute, to come to Iran for a short visit and a prehistoric project in the area of Kermanshah. And Braidwood's research centered on the development of economic and subsistence patterns, and he excavated briefly two Neolithic sites in the region of Kermanshah, it's western Iran. And probably the most famous finds are these two figurines named, and this one is named Venus of Tepe Sarab. It takes some imagination to associate this with Venus. Anyway, Braidwood's this snapshot or this short prehistoric project resulted in the discovery of the importance of the plain of Kermanshah during the prehistoric period. And Braidwood's program in turn inspired a number of other archaeologists. And starting in 1961, one of his students, Frank Hole, went to excavate prehistoric sites in southwestern Iran, in the plain of Dehleran. And this led to the series of experiments in seed flotation, a method that was invented by a Dane named Hans Hellbeck for recovering plant remains in archaeological excavations, but it was first introduced in the excavations of this American team in the plain of Dehleran in the 60s. I should also mention the excavation of Chogamish by Deluga's encounter in the 60s and 70s, surveys of Robert McCormick Adams on the settlement patterns and irrigation systems in Khuzestan, which were taken up later by Henry Wright and others. By the beginning of the 1970s, there was a concentration of archaeologists working on different sites in Khuzestan, which entirely impacted the archaeology of southwestern Iran. Now, the second wave of American involvement actually happened in the 50s, late 50s, in 1957, with the beginning of the Hassanlu project of the University Museum of the University of Pennsylvania. This was organized and directed by Robert Dyson, who trained a large number of American archaeologists who impacted the trend of archaeology in Iran and were in charge of some key positions in this country until recent time. Here's the site of Hassanlu. It's a large site near Lake Urmia in northwestern Iran. It has an archaeological sequence, let's say from 2500 BC down to 800 BC, and even there is an Islamic period, a 12th century period. The project's initial goal was to reconstruct the cultural history of the Soldus Valley, this whole valley, through excavations of a series of stratified sites from 6000 BC onwards. And one of the teams, Dyson's teams, excavated the small prehistoric site, Tepe Haji Firuz, where they found the oldest remains of winemaking or wines in the whole Near East, going back to 5000 BC. But Hassanlu is famous. Here's another view of the site of Hassanlu. This is a sort of almost circular mound with a series of buildings, late second millennium buildings, which were the excavators named burned buildings because they were all burned. But these are important because these are the first manifestation of Iranian column halls, and which influenced later Achaemenid column halls or Median column halls. You have the peak of this style of architecture in Persepolis or in Subza in southern Iran. There's a reconstruction of these columned halls going back to, let's say, late second millennium BC. And the famous gold bowl of Hassanlu, found in one of the burned buildings. Here you see Robert Dyson in his young years with the gold bowl of Hassanlu. Actually, he didn't excavate the bowl. The bowl was excavated by a British member of the team, Charles Burney. But they never mentioned Burney. I know that because of the, because he told me about that story. Anyway, the gold bowl was found in 1958. Here's a better picture of the gold bowl.